Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my GTA 5 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at yet another wonderful mod, this time in the form of Los Santos Airlines, being made by user Lai and what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is the ability for you to purchase, say, things like airline tickets or hire private planes so that they will fly you somewhere in the world. And I just love that idea, because I don't know about you, but I have actually enjoyed on many occasions just sitting in the back of a taxi cab as it drives me somewhere in the world just to soak in this glorious game that is GTA 5. And I've always kind of thought that it would be cool to be able to do the same thing with airplanes. And, well, thanks to Los Santos Airlines, you can do that, plus a couple other services and features that are quite cool. So, if you would like to hire a plane, what you need to do is come here to the Los Santos airport, and you'll notice we have an interesting little plane icon right here over by the terminal entrance. And that icon is actually downstairs, where if we head on down here, you will find this lovely little ticket kiosk here that I just ran right by, and as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner above our mini-map, we have a press E to book airline tickets or private planes, and if we do so, we get the slightly flashy and glitchy Los Santos Airline sign here, or menu rather, where we can hire a private plane to take us somewhere, purchase an airline ticket, hire a cargo plane to take us someplace, hire a skydiving helicopter, and turn on and off announcements, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, these are all quite cool features, and each of them does a different thing. Now, if we go, say, to take a private plane, it'll ask us what sort of plane we want, like, say, a Velum, and then where we want it to go. So we can either pick the desert airfield, Fort Secundo outskirts, McKinsey Airport, or the Paleto Bay seashore, or fly to a custom location, which they will fly to whatever point or waypoint that you add to your minimap. Quite a cool little feature, but let's actually just have them fly us to the desert airfield. Now, once we hit that, you'll see we just lost $5,000 up in the top right-hand corner with my money, and we get shoved out here to the airfield, where we then just kind of walk up to the plane that we just hired, and you can see on the bottom it prompts us to press Y to board the plane. So if we do that, we are now in the back passenger position, and you'll see at the bottom we now have a press E to get an in-flight menu. Now, the menu is quite cool. We can actually add passengers if you want more of an experience, but that doesn't work on every plane. I haven't tested it out on this one yet. Oh, hello! Yes, we can on this one. Some of the planes you don't seem to be able to add passengers to, but this one, obviously, we can, which is lovely. We can then start our journey, skip to the end where we're landing, or a surprise, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. If we start our journey, though, the pilots will begin to take off, and we will fly to our destination, which I've suddenly forgotten where I told them to take us. But yes, we are taking off now, and we can enjoy the world as they fly us to wherever we asked. Now, as I mentioned, we can skip to the end of the journey, which doesn't actually skip to the very end of you landing, or you being landed, rather. It skips you, if we click it, to the plane coming in for a landing, which, can be interesting. On this small plane, we should be perfectly fine, but on some of the larger planes you select, the AI does not seem to be able to land at certain places very well. Oh yeah, it's I've been in some interesting crashes with this mod so far. But if you're in a small plane, I've never had them have an issue with landing as of yet. With my luck, though, first time for everything here today, and yes, they will just come right on in for a landing, and all will be happy. Now, we did have this surprise one here as well, which is another interesting option, which I guess I'll talk about now. If we hit surprise, it actually takes us up to the very, very top of the world, and your pilots die. And so you have to then, of course, jump out of the plane and parachute down, provided, of course, that you actually have a parachute. It's quite an interesting little feature. It's just an odd wild card. I don't know why they added it into the mod, but you know what? It can be entertaining if you get bored halfway through your flight and just go, yeah, what the hell? Let's skydive suddenly. But there we are. Our pilots have successfully landed us, and we are good, so we should just come to a nice stop. 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 Oh, he's not stopping. Well, yeah, he's not stopping at all. There we go. Flight successful, and the passenger has jumped right out. The guy that I spawned in. You poor fool. That was an interesting landing. I actually haven't had that happen yet. So far, as I mentioned, these small planes have all been quite successful in their landings, which I mean, technically, we landed. We just trimmed a few trees along the way. But if we use our native trainer to teleport back to the airport entrance, now that was the private plane, where you could select a specific location to go to from either that predetermined list or, as I mentioned before, a waypoint on your map. Now, the next option down was the airline. Now, the airline only goes between this airport and the desert airfield. That is it. It's a much cheaper ticket, and we only have 3 different planes we can select from here. Let's go with the Miljet. And you can see it was only $500 because it's just a generic airplane ticket. You're not renting out a private plane. You're getting into a plane with, well, potentially loads of people, but again, we do have to spawn them ourselves manually. So if we go onto the interior, yes, and go to the E menu and just go crazy in here. There we go, add ourselves all sorts of passengers. We have a boar? Huh. And apparently the guy from Red Dead Redemption, who I'm suddenly forgetting the name of. But yes, we have an interesting selection of passengers here, and we can start our journey, and it will take off just like the other plane and take us to the desert airfield. An interesting little feature. As I said, this is sort of the cheaper end option, and your only choice is between the Los Santos airport and the desert airfield, but still, nonetheless, an interesting little option. Now, we're just going to jump out and teleport back to the entrance. Beautiful. To then take a look at the next option on the list. Okay, let's speed it up a little bit. And go to book and go to cargo services. Now, this one, again, like with the private plane, gives us the list of places we can go to, or the fly to custom location. Let's go to the Paleto Bay Seashore, and this one, $5,000, and this time you're renting a cargo plane. The point of it being for you to then be able to load it up with crap, like a car, for instance, and then fly to your destination. Now, this one gives me trouble. I still enjoy using this one, but because it uses this plane in all the pictures that I saw on the mod page for this, you had oh god, what's the other cargo airplane? Oh boy, the 4-propeller one that I'm suddenly forgetting the name of. It had that, but every time I've tried it myself, I've gotten this behemoth of an airplane, which is difficult to get vehicles into, but if we get close to it, we should get an E menu prompt. There we go. Y to board the plane, and then we get an in-flight menu. Now, you may notice we didn't actually get on the plane because this is a cargo plane. This, we technically got on the plane so we could get this menu, and with it, we can open the cargo bay doors. And now they were already kind of propped open, but you can see they're all the way down on the ground now. And so we can actually get onto this plane. Now, with a vehicle, you'll have a hard time because there is that big lip, but we could get on here at the very least. There we go, and have them start the journey. Now, the cargo bay doors automatically close, and the plane begins to take off. And we can, I guess, view from the menu, as you can see, or not the menu, the mini-map. We are moving on the mini-map, and our character is getting a little bit wonky. I believe we've taken off now. But one of the fun things you can do while in here, now we can't add passengers because this is not a passenger plane. If we hit that, nothing happens. We can look around, you see no passengers on board. We can skip the journey as normal, do the surprise, or we can open the cargo bay doors while in flight. Oh, that ripped off the nose. Well, wait, hold on. In this plane, doesn't the nose hold the flight crew? Oh boy. But yeah, there we go. We still are apparently flying with no nose cone. And of course, the tail cargo bay door is open as well. And it's slowly closing, but we no longer have the nose here, so we can enjoy the very odd flight that we now have. Well, since we've already kind of borked this flight up, let's just go ahead and do that surprise that I mentioned earlier. So we hit that, we're going to kind of fade to black a couple of times, and then suddenly you're going to find yourself... Oh, I just got thrown completely out of the flight that time. Well, we can open up a parachute. There we go. Now that seems interesting. I'm now wondering if the surprise actually has multiple things that can happen. Because as I mentioned earlier, several times that I've done the surprise, it always launched me way up to the tip top of the sky that you could be at, and then you fell to your death. Or unless, of course, you had a parachute. That one, though, just seemed to kick me straight out of the flight without launching me up way into space. So intriguing. I am intrigued. But, oh well, nonetheless, I don't see myself using that surprise very often. But let's use the teleport and take a look at the last option, which actually has two very fun features. Now, the last one that we can do is the helicopter. Now, with the helicopter, we can go to try and hire it right now. Go to Skydiving Helicopters, select, say, the Maverick, but we don't have a checkpoint. This one, you have to have a checkpoint first, because it isn't taking you to someplace to land, it is taking you someplace to skydive. So there are no preset locations. So we have to actually go to our map and say, just have them take me over here for some skydiving. And hit E, go back down to the Skydiving Helicopters, and we're going to pick the Maverick for a very special reason. We could pick any of these 4 helicopters, but the Maverick has an extra little bonus. It doesn't just allow you to skydive, but it also allows you to rappel, which is interesting. Now, the rappelling still seems to be a little bit buggy, but it's amusing if it works. So let's go and select the Maverick. Oh, did my checkpoint go away? Uh-oh. Okay. Yes, it did appear to. All right, let's do the waypoint. There we go. Now select the Maverick. It is not wanting to cooperate. We may have to pick somewhere else. I think it might be because I'm at the airport, perhaps. So let's have him take us over, you know what, just like over the water somewhere. Because, well, with the rappelling, it has to get down to a specific altitude before it can let you rappel, and if you do it by buildings, the pilot sometimes freaks out and doesn't know where to go. That's why I wanted to do it somewhere open. But yeah, so I think over the water should be good. So now go to E, Skydiving Helicopter, select the Maverick. There we go, and that one was $15,000 to rent out a private Maverick for us to go skydiving with. But let's just jump right on in, hit Y, there we go. And when we press E, we can add passengers, etc., all that same sort of stuff. But let's just go to start our journey and open back up the menu once it allows us to. It needs to take off first, and there we go. Now we can open it again. And you'll see at the bottom we have that rappel from helicopter option, which it has to wait until you get to the waypoint that you have told it to go to. So it'll take us up to a skydiving altitude first over that waypoint, and then we hit rappel from helicopter and it'll lower us down to a lower altitude at that same point. So let's just sort of, not mean to hit escape. Let's wait until we get over our waypoint, which we should be at momentarily. And almost. Over the water was a good selection. Still not very far for it to fly. Which actually, maybe I don't know the reason it didn't want that waypoint to work, because it wouldn't have been very far. I mean, it would have been take off, move 10 feet, and we would have been there earlier. But yes, now that we can just stop right over this waypoint here, now we could just skydive, as it is a skydiving helicopter. But since we are just about over the location, like, can we select this yet? Now, see, it's told us that we cannot, or we can only repel from a Maverick. This happens even in the Maverick, like we are now, if it's not quite over the point yet. So we're going to have to try this a few times before it eventually takes. I think we're going to be good there now. Oop. Did not mean to switch those. There we go. We have reached the skydiving point. We can now jump or now hit repel, and the pilot is going to take us back down to a suitable repelling distance. So there we go. So yeah, you need to wait until it gives you that prompt saying that we're at skydiving altitude, and then you can change it over to be repel. And then we just go in this horrible, horrible corkscrew dive, which, oh god, from first-person view, kind of makes me a little motion sick. Oh boy. Oh god. Alrighty, and we seem to be slowing now, so we should be coming to a good point. Let's actually go to the exterior view. And he is still just sort of diving down in a corkscrew manner. Oh boy, come on, speed it up, my friend. And now I will mention, as I said earlier, the repelling does still seem to be a little bit buggy. I think it should work though. I think we're still losing altitude, so I think we're still fine. I may fast forward to the point at where we actually repel, or skip ahead to the last thing that I want to talk about. So, I'll see you in a sec. Okay, and bringing you back here now. I've been sitting here for a couple of minutes hoping this guy would work itself out. I think that the issue is that he's trying to get us to repel only once we're directly on that waypoint that I set earlier. So he can't seem to get directly on it from coming down from that previous altitude. I think that's what the issue is, and that seems to be a problem for the repelling. Now, as I said earlier, I have tried this out, and I had issues in buildings, which was definitely a big problem, because he definitely couldn't find a good location with the waypoint to drop me on. And other times I tested it, I did have this issue where he couldn't get directly over the waypoint. I think so far, only 1 in 5 times that I have tested the repelling has it actually worked, which is a little sad because I think it would be a very cool feature if it worked consistently. But the problem is, on this part of the mod, it's definitely not a consistent feature. So, well, we were going to skydive anyway, so away we go. Goodbye, helicopter. And pull the chute. And then we are actually just going to go ahead and teleport back to the airport entrance to talk about the one last thing that I haven't gotten to yet on this mod, and that is those announcement bits at the very bottom. Now, this is purely an options thing here on the Los Santos Airlines menu, and what this does is allows you to turn on or off in-flight announcements. Now, when you go to the airliners or the private planes, etc., it actually has 3 different audio files that come with the mod that basically have the captain coming on and going, "Welcome to Los Santos Airlines, blah, blah, blah." Now, I had it turned off for the purpose of doing this video here today because it doesn't want to cooperate with my recording software, because how the actual sound bites work is it makes a call to your exterior folders. Basically, the sound files that they use for the announcements are WAV files that are in a folder, and it calls those specific files to be played. So it actually leaves Grand Theft Auto 5, opens those sound files, plays them, and then goes back into GTA 5 once the sound file is done. Which for my recording software means it goes all over the place. It goes, "Oh god, you opened up another bit of software. Should I be recording that? Oh, no, okay," and it all just goes to hell. So I have it turned off, but I'm going to add one of them into editing here in a second so you can hear the quality of them. And here you go.
On behalf of Los Santos Airlines and the entire crew, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we are looking forward to seeing you on board again.
And And there you go. That was one of the 3 separate audio files that serves as the airliner announcements. And as you can tell, they're all just sort of made with one of those robotic voice emulator things, which isn't, you know, the best of quality. And it's kind of an interesting feature, but considering it does actually take you out of GTA 5, it's honestly something I've just kept off since the first time I tried it. It was an interesting gimmick of the first go, but it took my full screen GTA, made it windowed, and then it of course stayed at windowed until I switched my settings again, and it was kind of a pain. So unless they can get those sound files to play without having to activate them through third-party software, I think that's something just to keep off. And the helicopters, skydiving in the helicopters, very, very fun. Now, the rappelling does definitely still need to get a bit of work. The cargo service, cool just because you get carried around in a giant plane. The airline, cheap, but only goes to one airport. My personal favorite, though, is by far the private planes. It is just so cool to have a private plane all to yourself to just sit in the back of and enjoy the skyline of Los Santos, and these planes, of course, will go to anywhere you tell them to. Very fun, a very cool feature. I really do enjoy it. Let's just get into a Mammatus and go to the outskirts there. 5,000 bucks, and you get a private plane to take you where you wish to go. Oh god, why'd I pick this plane? It's like, oh, I don't remember what that plane is, but oh well, there we go. We'll start the journey and fly off into the sunset as we finish off this recording today. A very interesting little mod. I do enjoy it. There definitely is a lot more work to be done on this before it's really at its prime, especially with that rappelling, but overall, very cool little mod that just adds in an interesting new feature into the game, which I personally enjoy, and I hope that you do as well, and that you give this a download for yourself. And if you'd like to, you can check out the link in the description as always. And of course, I hope you have enjoyed this episode today, and that you come back for the next. But until then, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one. Now I'm just gonna kinda enjoy the sunset over there as we fly off into the distance of wherever it is that I told them to go to that I've now completely forgotten. Ah, my horrible short-term memory. Later, folks!